Because when you die and you go up there, everybody will be left drinking beer. So drink. I'm not saying you drink, but anyway, it's just a song I heard and it really spiked my interest. I laughed.
This is a series about gut health, gut diseases, gut remedies, and nutrition.
I was having a conversation with the gut, as I mentioned before, and was asking what causes bloating and how can we deal with that.
So Baba Joan, please make sure you're watching. Now, what causes bloating in the lines of the meals we consume? So the first culprit or the first finger is normally pointed to the beans and the green grams, dengu, that people consume. So they're nitrogenous, and when they're broken down, they tend to release a lot of gas. Also, eggs can do the same. They can give you a lot of gas, especially for those of us who are intolerant to poultry-related feeds. Another thing that can give you bloating effect is dairy overconsumption. So there are people who are lactose intolerant, and there are people who tend to have lactose overload. It's when you overconsume this sugar that is mostly found in dairy products, and then the body doesn't have enough time to break it down, so there's an overaccumulation. So you find someone takes milk with cake that has been baked with milk, and then has a sandwich with cheese and with milk again. So overindulgence. Now, another thing that can give you bloating is carbonated drinks. So you just pop one out of the fridge and you open and you drink it, like you guzzle it down. You just feel the distension coming in, and then unless you belch, you don't feel the relief. Some of us, the opening to the stomach is so tight, you don't belch easily. So it holds the gas in. Okay? And also we have what we call some sources of carbs. Some of our carbs are very high in fiber, and some of those fibers are not broken down in good time, so you get bloated. Yeah. And also overexposed yogurt. You know, when you take a yogurt out of the cold room or the cold environment, and you put it somewhere like where the sun is pointing right now, and you don't finish it in good time, and then you want to continue taking it again tomorrow, now you have already made all the bacteria inside there to start being active and live, and then you'll find yourself overexposing your system to more bacteria than it needs. And one of the other things that can really cause some nasty bloating is undercooked or wrongly preserved food. So you get your food out of the freezer, you don't go through the process of raising it back to room temperature and then back to a temperature that to make sure that the bacteria have been reduced or killed a bit. Then you eat that food. You might wind up with bloating because of exposure to live cultures of bacteria inside the food. So when you take your food out of the fridge, please take time with it. Okay? Yeah. So those are some of the common sources of bloating that are in nearly all our households.
And then still related to that, what would be the best recommended diet for a man, like my father, for instance?
So, men we normally get pointed with a lot. So there's this common misconception or myth that a man has to eat meat every day. If they don't eat meat every day, they stop being a man. So you find all meals have meat. So whenever you are planning a meal for a gentleman, I normally advise on sourcing locally, and if possible, locally grown foods, and preparing them according to our local cultures, our local ways of preparation of food, so that you just expose the body to what is locally available. Okay? But in lines of vitamins that I would recommend on a consistency, let's say on a day-to-day basis, I'd really recommend highly anything with zinc. That's our nuts, and particularly the commonly found peanuts on the roadside. If you can make your own, the ground nuts, if you can make your own from home, the better. That's a good source of zinc. Also the seeds. There's some sections of the country that people can find some sunflower seeds readily because they are there. So seeds are also a good source of zinc. Zinc helps a lot with vitality and a lot of factors. Okay? Yeah. And also make sure you stay hydrated. The questions of prostate come in there. Stay hydrated. It keeps the system in check.
I think Dr. you mentioned magnesium.
The micronutrients, magnesium, manganese, copper, there are so many, but you see, these nutrients are those that you don't need in bulk, so you don't have to take them in bulk. So if you can source them from locally available foods, the better. And remember, locally available food is something you can even walk out of your house to Mama Mboga just there and get it. So long as you're taking tomatoes, carrots, onions, garlic, ginger, you're gaining all those nutrients. You're getting all of them because they are needed in very small quantities. You can't even put it on a finger. They're very small.
What is a good practice for supplementing?
Whenever you are supplementing a micronutrient, my advice is normally do it to correct a deficiency that has already been identified. So let's say you would do it for about 2 to 3 weeks, then go for an assessment to see whether it has actually worked. Otherwise, if you do it long term, I would advise you to just eat your food. Take an adequate meal. I'm trying to avoid to use the word balanced. It should be an adequate meal, something that meets all your daily needs for all the nutrients that your body has to have in 24 hours to keep you functional and operational. Yeah, that would be my statement on that. Like, just supplement when there is a need. Correct a deficiency that has already been identified. Otherwise, you'll find yourself overindulging and giving your body more than it can process, and then you'll wind up with expensive waste. These supplements don't come cheap. They're not easy to find. So you overindulge or you overexpose your body to these nutrients, it will wind up identifying them as high levels or toxic levels, and then it will struggle to eliminate them. Hence the expensive waste. Expensive because it's nutrients the body could have used later and because it will still cost you.
Anything else you would want to add in regards to gas?
Probiotics help. They are live cultures of beneficial bacteria that help clear some of the fibers we don't have the enzymes necessary to digest or to break them down. So especially men, we have this common belief that the yogurt we buy when you're going for shopping is for the children in the house. Make sure you take yogurt. You need those live cultures. You need those live cultures, and when you open up that yogurt, please make sure you're finishing it. You'd rather even buy a small container or a small pack than to buy the big pack and not be in a position to complete it, especially if you don't have access to refrigeration. Post-refrigeration, take time to raise the temperature of the food back to normal room temperature. That's why you're always told to, if you have a frozen chicken, take it out of the freezer earlier in the day so that it thaws itself, it gets out of the frozen state to a more fleshy state that now can be cut through with a knife easily. And when you're raising the temperature of food, taking your time is best. You don't need a high heat. You can use a low heat over a long period of time to achieve even cooking, evenness, so that you don't wind up eating food that some sections are cold and some sections are hot. Yeah.
Okay. I think that is all the time we have today's episode. Thank you, Micah.
You're welcome. Did I cover everything? Yeah, I tried to keep it as simple as possible.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's good to discuss it and realize the flow happens.
It happens, it just comes in.
This is a series about gut health, gut diseases, gut remedies, and nutrition.